Welcome to Esalen Live, where we chat with change agents and swim deep waters in an ongoing exploration of human potential. I'm your host, Christine Chen. During this time, have you looked for divine inspiration to help you tackle challenge, manage transition, or even stay curious about a brand new experience in life? Today's guest is Caley Alyssa. She's joining us on Esalen Live today. She's a cosmic Nidra yoga teacher and embodiment coach who has a way we can navigate the journeys ahead, and there will be a lot of them. Her workshop is coming up on May 7th, and it's through the 9th at Esalen. It's for moms and mother figures, but her approach has something for all of us, especially during this time. I'm so honored and excited to meet Caley Alyssa that weekend, and then also right here on Esalen Live. Hi, Caley.
Hi, Christine. It's a pleasure.
So excited about what you're offering here because it's not just for moms and mother figures. Like the idea of how to navigate something new is something we're all familiar with now from the last year so well. What have you noticed about the resilience practice or the practice of resilience for people in general right now?
Yes, I mean, it's been waves of intensity and waves of a little bit more reprieve and calm. And I think the thing this last year that I've noticed the most is really people needing a massive reset for our nervous systems, carrying around so much stress on a constant basis and not being able or not knowing how to process that or release it, and then to move on from it as well. So
Mm.
resilience is definitely a word, but then also the processing of and the releasing of stress through resets of the nervous system, I think is so crucial right now.
Mm. If you're joining us on Esalen Live via Facebook Live, we're with Caley Alyssa. She's a cosmic yoga nidra teacher and embodiment coach. If you have any questions for her, please put them in the chat and we'll try to work them in. And also just let us know from where you're watching. We'd love to know where you are right now. Caley, your big approach here for that weekend, and then a lot of what you do in general is with yoga nidra. And for those of you unfamiliar with Yoga Nidra, it's yogic sleep. Kaylee, can you share with us what your approach is? What is Nidra and what is your approach?
Absolutely. So yoga nidra, yes, is called yogic sleep and or psychic sleep. And its name is a little bit of a misnomer because the goal of nidra is not to fall asleep, but it's actually to find yourself in this liminal space in the bardo, in between. And so you're sort of dipping in and out of consciousness. And the beautiful part about the space that you access in Nidra is that you are in such a deep and relaxed state that you're able to be triggered and or stimulated by emotions and or memories and allow these things to not only move through you but release from you. And so it's been extremely effective in cases that, using PTSD and other things like this. It's a really effective modality to help process and release those traumas from the body, to reset the nervous system and the endocrine system, the glandular system. And so what I love about the practice is that there's no barrier to entry. It's a really easy practice. Anyone can do it. It's done lying down, and all you have to do is listen. And
Mm,
so it's one of the most beautiful things about Nidra is it's accessible to everyone.
yeah, I love that. We want to welcome, I hope I'm pronouncing these names right, Siglinde from San Francisco. And then we have Stephen from Long Beach joining us, Marcy from Jersey City, and also Cheryl from New Jersey. Oh my gosh, Fargo, North Dakota. And then
Woo!
yeah, and another Cheryl from New Jersey. Thanks for joining us. And also, if you have a questions, please put them in the chat for when we're talking about Yoga Nidra. So you explained a little bit, Kaylee, about the practice itself. What actually happens to your brain during this time, during
Yeah.
this practice?
Great question. So typically, during a normal day, we mostly operate in beta brainwave state, and this is our everyday sort of normal walking around, taking in information externally. And then we through Nidra, we drop into deeper and deeper levels of brainwave states. You can see all of them here in this visual, but we move into sort of the alpha brainwave state where, we're relaxed. This is the meditative state where our eyes are closed and our internal experience becomes more real than our external experience. And then we drop in a little deeper and we go into this really deep meditative theta brainwave state. And potentially beyond that into gamma, which is the ultimate goal for me right now with Nidra. And when we're in this gamma brainwave state, the potential to stimulate the pineal gland and to have the pineal gland actually convert derivatives of melatonin into DMT is possible. And Joe Dispenza, someone I've studied with, talks a lot about this in his research and in his trainings, and it's just a really beautiful and amazing phenomenon that's been uncovered in the last year or so with meditation, with Nidra. So the potential to drop all the way into gamma, most of the time we reach theta or delta state in Nidra, but the potential for that gamma access is there, and very powerful, because in this state you can completely repattern and reprogram your mind and heal physical and emotional traumas in seconds.
Okay. So we have two questions. That's really lovely the way you put that. So simple to understand the way you put it. We have two questions. Stephen asked, how is this different from Shavasana? I'm pretty sure that when you say Shiva Shina, you mean Shavasana. Pretty sure that's what he means. And then his second question is, do you mean Delta? So can you address those questions?
So delta is that deep sleep, that dreamless sleep state. And we actually, you can move through that in Nidra, but really what we're trying to access in Nidra is the sort of the gamma. That's the ultimate, right? And most of the time we will oscillate between theta and delta. Theta is that unconscious deep sleep state, whereas theta is more that deep meditative state. Right. And then gamma is beyond both of them.
So it sounds like in that way, that's how it's different from Shavasana, because you're not just like checking out and letting it go. You're really like letting it go to re-engage. Is that it?
Yes, and Shavasana is really a resting state, whereas Nidra is sort of an active resting state where we're actually taking you through the koshas. And in yoga, we have these, the koshas are the bodies. And so we're moving from the very external kosha all the way into the most internal, which is the bliss body. And so it's very strategic, yoga Nidra, and it's a guided practice. And there's a method to the madness, really, where Shavasana is sort of a free-flowing experience of rest and relaxation after a physical asana.
You mentioned something, Caley, about reprogramming the brain. And this might freak some people out, right? Where they're like, well, you're going to reprogram me. I'm not a robot. I'm just playing devil's advocate here. When you talk about reprogramming, how do you make that accessible and make it so that people really are open to it?
Well, think about it in terms of, ways of being and habits that we've formed and patterns we've acquired from, our primary caretakers in our earliest days on Earth. I'm pregnant right now, and I think about this all the time, what I'm already imprinting on my child. We are so very much impressionable in the first few years of our life up until really age 7. And the things that we acquire are really, we're just adopting identically. As children, we just onboard them. It's a natural process. This is how we learn to be human. So a lot of these things might not be very beneficial for us, or they might not be very effective for us in our communication and in our relationships. And so what we do in Nidra is we access these samskaras, which are these deeply ingrained, deeply rooted pathways. And we access the ones that might not be here or working for our greatest and highest good. And we tweak them and we shift them, and we use the defining characteristic of Yoga Nidra, which is Sankalpa, to do that. So we're taking a pattern that might be unhealthy or just not working in your life, and we're shifting that, and we're using positive and present moment language around your sankalpa, which means really vow of truth. So it's very powerful. It's much more powerful than intention. And we're using that language to help reprogram and repattern those negative pathways, or not necessarily negative, but maybe not as effective and really useful as we want them to be.
Yeah, or maybe evolving to a different place by repatterning. Would you say
Hmm.
that's the case? I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
that works.
Would you describe a little bit more intimately the difference between sankalpa and samskara as practices?
Yeah, so samskaras are those pathways. Those are those like deeply rooted pathways within our minds that, you know, every action, every intent, every sort of like preparation by an individual leaves that some sort of an impression, an imprint in the deeper structure of our mind. And these impressions, they really impact our future. They impact our lived experience. From sort of expectations that we hold, or subconscious beliefs about self-worth, or whatever it might be. These are our samskaras. And where sankalpa, the difference here is sankalpa is the tool, the vehicle that we're using to set the tone for our Nidra practice and create a high vibrational frequency of a statement of transformation. And we infuse that at both the beginning and at the end of Yoga Nidra to help take these samskaras and shift them into
Mm,
positive and transformational ways of being.
I understand now. Thank you for clarifying that. Hey, we're with Caley Alyssa, a yoga nidra teacher, cosmic yoga nidra teacher, and embodiment coach who has a workshop coming up in May at Esalen. If you have any more questions for her, or you want to just send her some love if what she's saying is really helpful to you in this conversation, please do that. Felipe, I hear you saying, "What do you mean?" But I don't know to what you're speaking about. So if you can rephrase the question, we'll try to get to it. In Kenya, we did respond to you in the chat. So I want to also bring up, Kaylee, your integration of astrology with Nidra is quite unique. Could you explain how this works with the practice of Nidra and why we might be interested in learning more about this?
Yeah, so when I first learned Yoga Nidra, it was from my original primary teacher was Jana Romer, and she infused astrology with her teachings into the Nidras. And I've always been an astrology nerd and teaching myself astrology, and studied with, Demetra George and some other really incredible astrologers. And so when I trained with Jana, it really hit home for me that that's what I wanted to teach and that's what I wanted to do. And so then I since studied with Joe Dispenza, who teaches all about quantum technology and how science and religion are really merging. And a lot of his teachings involve yoga and yoga nidra and kundalini. And so I took what I learned from Jana and I took what I learned from Joe and I infused them together. And and they've really, they were the two people that really inspired me to do this and to walk this path. And and they both create the most amazing meditations, and Jana creates the most amazing nidras, and so this is what fueled me to start on this path, and then my continuous study of astrology and other modalities of meditation, and it all kind of stemmed from there. And so what I do is I take astrologically significant impacts and influences, and infuse those into the yoga nidra. So you might not even notice them when you're listening, but they're there. And I think it makes it much more potent when you really are, working through and using these tools. And even if you don't know that they're there, they impact us, and the stars impact us. And so having those extra little bits of magic woven into the nidra makes it much more potent.
Oh, I love that you use the word magic because that's exactly what it is. Rooted in science, magic rooted in science. Is there such a thing?
Yeah.
All right. Question, Kaylee, you mentioned that you are expecting. Congratulations. What a beautiful
Thank
time for
you.
you and your family. This practice is special to you also as you apply it to mothers, mothers to be, mother figures, anyone who has that nurturing energy. Can you explain specifically the correlation between the two or how the two can be integrated?
Yeah, so what I love about Nidra, and this really has to do with the reprogramming and repatterning, is as a mom and as a parent, we are we want to not pass down patterns that we might not appreciate about ourselves or that we've acquired from our parents. And so I think that really this sets the stage for what type of things you want to consciously bring into your child's life, and how you can prepare yourself also for the process of transitioning your ego from becoming one person, one version of yourself, to another version of yourself. And so there's a lot of really special components here that help us to do those things. It's an ego death becoming a mother, and you're really becoming a whole new person, and you're inviting a whole new person into the world. And so this workshop is specifically tailored to that experience, that shifting from one part of yourself to a new part of yourself, and also learning how, and consciously how, to program positive patterns and neural pathways into your child and children that already are living and exist out there in the world already.
The other thing I want to ask too is, because this is such a massive transition, the way that you described it so beautifully, could this practice be helpful in maybe not treating, maybe not avoiding, but at least addressing postpartum depression?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And also for anyone that has experienced a miscarriage as well. So, which I've been through myself, and I think that this practice, when you experience something like that, or when you're in postpartum and you are experiencing severe depression, what this practice again does is it can recalibrate your nervous system. And oftentimes when we're in these states of depression or sadness or processing extreme grief, this practice is so supportive for that. Like I mentioned, they're using it with PTSD, and because you're allowing yourself to take such a massive break, you're allowing your thinking mind, the analyzer, to shut off, and you're going into a state of being rather than a state of doing, and allowing yourself that experience of being, and without having anything to accomplish or do other than just return to a state of bliss. And that, in our most pure version of ourselves, we are free and we are blissful. And so this practice helps you to tap back into that and really alleviate some of those deep-seated emotional feelings that can lead to depression.
Yeah. Timely for now. So helpful.
Absolutely.
For now, right? So Caley's workshop, Preparing for Motherhood, a guided cosmic yoga nidra workshop, which, as you've just learned, has applications not just for motherhood, but for what we've all been going through in transition this last year and into the next year at least. That workshop, Preparing for Motherhood, a guided cosmic yoga nidra workshop, is coming up May 7th through 9th at Esalen. A question from Kimmy for people who are vaccinated: will there be group lodging where we can bring a sleeping bag? For now, Kimmy, the short answer is no, because we have some pretty strict COVID regulations that we will be working with in terms of group lodging. So for that, I would direct you to our website, but we certainly hope you stay with us for when we're a little bit more free to come and do the sleeping bag thing, and it's not so restricted, right? Caley, that time is just around the corner, we hope, right?
So close. We're getting there.
Yeah. I look forward to meeting you in person because we're going to be there at the same time.
Me too. Looking forward to it. We'll see you soon.
Yeah. Everybody, thank you for joining us on Esalen Live with Caley Alyssa. Sign up for her workshop, visit us, get inspired. We're working through all the COVID things just like you, but for now, it is safe. Take good care, everybody. Bye.